Good afternoon, world. It's moments past noon in Waxahachie, Texas, deep in the heart of the Lone Star State. And today is the 13th of March, and this is episode number 127 of Grit and Good News, broadcasting live from our palatial studios here in the shadows of the Ellis County Courthouse. We do this show every Tuesday and Thursday from noon to 1. And capably handling the board and taking extra duties today is our man, Sammy Brooks. Normally, this is where I'd say, and to my right is your friend and mine, Scott Brooks, but that doesn't really look like Scott Brooks over there. And this is a dear friend of mine from Minnesota, Joe Youngbauer.
Hi, Jeff. Great to be here.
Good to have you. Good to have you. Joe is a college roommate of mine. We met in 1973. We roomed together for a few years. I was in his wedding, dear friends with his wife Janine, and he came down with our pal Mike Fisher and our pal Mark Shipley for a 3-day golf trip. The old 4 days, 3 nights deal. The boys drove in yesterday, picked up. They stopped in Guthrie, Oklahoma. Then they picked up Joe at the airport, came out to Rita in my place, and so here we are today. So, Joe, tell them a little bit about your background.
Sure, Jeff. I right out of college became a commodity broker, worked for major brokerage firms, Merrill Lynch and Smith Barney and places like that. I've had my own commodity trading outfit since about 2000. And what I do is I invest money for large ranchers and farmers. I deal in agricultural commodity futures for the most part, trade millions and millions of pounds of beef. I trade a lot of corn, a lot of soybeans, trade a little gold and silver, stuff like that. Never dreamt I would do that for 47 years, but I've seen inflation when I first became a broker, and now I have the opportunity to see it again. I kind of have a good idea what's going on. It's been a very rewarding career. The good Lord has blessed me very generously, especially in the last 15 years. So,
Joe's got a good head on his shoulders, while Mike and I were business administration majors, and a lot of our friends did that. Joe was an economics major, and that was a small department in our school, wasn't it, Joe?
hmm
Yeah.
there were four of us as seniors that were econ majors. So, the professor was getting his doctorate, and he would have each one of us take a day teaching. And so, you couldn't be out partying too hard the night before, even when you're in college, if you're going to be teaching class at 8 o'clock in the morning.
He was a great guy, and despite that, we made a lot of fun of him. He was an albino. He'd be this close up to the
Oh,
chalkboard,
the
and
poor man
uh,
couldn't see.
it
Yeah,
was it was a really nice situation um, for me to only have to take one class for my major. Uh, so many of you know that I am from Minnesota. Um, you know what? Before we go any further, we forgot to do our this is episode number 127. Let's do our numbers.
Our numbers. So, okay, so we do the number that correlates with our number episode. Nobody wears 127, so we're going to do 27. All right, I'm starting with the NFL. Jeffrey, Joe, you got any guesses? That
Ooh,
NFL player who wore number 27.
probably a running back or a cornerback.
Yeah, they're going to be safeties and maybe one running back on here. I'll start with Ken Houston. I don't know if that rings any bells. He plays for the Redskins.
Okay.
And then I'll go to Steve Atwater. He played for the Broncos. Eddie George for the Titans, Ray Rice for the Ravens, and Rashawn Mathis for the Jaguars. Now, a lot of those are going to be safeties and maybe one running
Right.
back, like I said. Going over to NBA, I only have 4 here, but these are the most notable. You got any from the NBA?
Don't.
You don't? I'll start with the
so
4-time Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. He plays for the Timberwolves right now.
I was going to say he's a Timberwolf.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes,
Shoulda,
sir.
woulda, coulda had Rudy.
Yeah, yep. I'll go to Jamal Murray. He plays for the Denver Nuggets. I'll go to retired Zaza Pachulia. Interesting name. And then Yusuf Nurkic. All right. MLB. Anything ring a bell there? Number
Possibly a
27.
pitcher.
He plays today. He's the face of the USA, Mike Trout
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
for
sure.
the Angels. And then we go to Vladimir Guerrero. Oh no,
Junior,
yeah, no, this is
senior.
senior. Yes,
Okay.
senior. And then we go to Juan Michael or Marical
Marischal.
Marichal,
Marischal.
Juan
Yeah,
Juan
Marischal.
there
Marichal.
it
Yeah.
is.
That
There it is.
was in the 60s.
1960s. Yep.
Yeah.
Was
Uh,
that in '65? No, it was Colfax and Drysdale.
I think he was St. Louis Cardinal, and he pitched in a World Series in '68, where I might have won $5 off my uh, gym teacher.
Nice.
Yeah.
then I'll go to Carlton Fisk,
Oh, there
play
you
for the
go.
Red
The
Sox.
original Pudge before Pudge Rodriguez. Pudge is a great nickname for catchers.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't know what Pudge meant, but I guess it's for catchers.
Well,
Just
it's just
Pudgy. Yeah,
stout.
Pudgy guy
I
and
got you. Okay.
Stout.
good backstop.
And then Giancarlo Stanton, he still plays. Good hitter. And then Jose Altuve for the Astros.
Ah,
Then going over to Jeff's Sports NHL. Jeffrey, you gotta have one.
I got a bunch. What do you got?
I'll start with Scott Niedermeyer.
Niedermeyer.
Niedermeyer for the Devils, I believe.
Yeah, he had 4 cups and Hall of Fame.
Cool. Then I go to Frank Malik.
We love this because
This is the worst.
how would if you didn't know, how would you know? It's Mahavlich, who's got the
Mahavlich.
great nickname of the Big M.
Dang. Okay, yeah, I should have got that one. All right, I'll go to Daryl Sittler
Yep.
for the Leafs. I can say that one.
Yeah.
Ron Hextall for the Flyers.
He's the
Ronnie
first
Hextall.
goalie ever to score a goal. He
Oh wow,
fired it down on an empty net. It's happened many times since.
that's cool. And then Alexei Kavalev,
Kovalov.
and then I end with
And
Tepo.
again, he's a Russian, and
Yeah,
because he's AK and he's number 27, his
A-
nickname was
AK 20.
AK-27.
I like that. That's
Ah,
cool. And then I'll end with Teppo Numinen.
Tipo,
Tipo
Tipo.
for the who does he play for? I don't know. I have Jets here. I might have wrote the wrong thing. Anyways, that's the one I end with.
There you go. Okay, so Scott will be back to join us. Joe and I are going to talk about all things Minnesota and all things uh, regarding our lives. And let me just briefly say that in 1982, at age 27, with $200 and no job, I drove down 35 and moved to Texas. And I left behind good friends, college friends, high school friends, family. And for none of the reasons that we're going to talk about today had nothing to do with why I left. And I left because I saw everybody in my life having success in their life, and I'd left good jobs because I always thought there was another good job. And I went into a series of lesser and lesser jobs. And I said, you know what? You're born in Corpus. You go back. They'll treat you like a native son. And so I came and I never regret it. And I still have a big part of my heart in Minnesota. I can't see myself ever moving back. Joe, what has happened before we talk about what has happened to my beloved Minnesota, let's talk about what's still great in Minnesota because everything you're going to tell me applied back then, I'm still sure.
sure. The things that are great are if you like to hunt or fish, if you golf. We have gorgeous golf courses, outdoor recreation. You've got 4 seasons, and there's fully all 4 seasons. So you want to snowmobile, you want to cross country ski, downhill ski. All of those things are still there, and it's still a lot of fun and opportunity. Um, Used to be that we want to do a lot of things in the city, in the downtown Minneapolis or St. Paul, sporting events, plays, Broadway shows, restaurants. Not so much want to ever go there now. It's changed. It's changed dramatically. Um, this is something that you would hate to see it happen to your hometown. Um, Gangs of kids with firearms on occasion rule the streets. You never know when there's going to be a shooting. They've cracked down hard, and they've somewhat lessened it but that's a temporary thing. Most of the time, the weather heats up and the gun violence heats up.
Joe, do you think that the George Floyd situation had a part of changing that?
Oh, most definitely. When you burn down huge amounts of core areas of the downtown, when you burn a full, the third precinct was on fire. They allowed that to happen. They allowed all of this to just basically overwhelm the city. And know a lot of people who moved out of Minneapolis after that event, after that series of riots and unrest. Um, Now I know more and more people who are just literally leaving the state. Uh, a lot of people who earn a lot of money and paid a lot of taxes no longer are there. And that's going to impact us in the long haul. Uh, you don't want your stellar citizens that know how to create wonderful businesses that are pillars of the community and of their churches to say, can't live here anymore. It's not safe. It's not good for my family. And that's unfortunate.
So we see a lot of migration of California people here, um, Minnesota people. A lot of them go to Arizona for winters, and then I think more of those are starting to say. But where are they mostly going from in Minnesota?
Oh, it's a variety of places. I have a brother who moved to Arizona,
Eh,
and he's there 6 months and 1 day at least every year. He knows how to play the game. I have another one, two brothers that have moved to Wisconsin. You can move 18 miles east of St. Paul, and you're in Wisconsin on the beautiful St. Croix River. There's a beautiful town there called Hudson. A lot of people move into Hudson. My wife and I have been looking for property there, and it's doubled in value when compared to any other property around the state because people want to get out of being a Minnesota taxpayer and a Minnesota citizen with the way it's being managed or mismanaged.
So Texas is one of the 8 or 10, I'm not sure how many states with no federal income tax. Excuse me, with no state income tax. What is your top tax rate in Minnesota now?
I don't want to say something when I don't know the correct answer for sure. Um,
It's
but
north. It's
we're
north of 10, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and we're the fourth largest tax state. And, there's California and there's New York and I think Massachusetts, and we're right up there. The other
And
thing,
you've always been in the
always
tops.
been,
Always been.
and Governor Walz decided it was a good idea to also tax Social Security income. So there are, I believe, only 4 states in the country that do that. So you've already been taxed on all that income, and now you're paying tax again if you're receiving Social Security. So it's yeah,
That's brutal.
it is brutal, and it causes people to leave.
Let's talk more about your governor and correct me if I'm right or wrong, but when Minneapolis was burning that first time, unlike what's happening now, he was in charge then, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, yeah, and he had a son who I think is an avowed socialist. I don't know if he's a communist, what his title is, but who was out rioting and part of that whole thing, as was Ilhan Omar and her then boyfriend. They were out in the streets marching and participating in all of that. Um, it just Governor Walz was a member of the National Guard. He inflated what he did and what his position was with them. But people eventually came out and said, no, 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 he didn't do any of those things. But
When you
n-
say inflated, like in his campaigns to become elected,
yeah, he would claim that he was in a leadership position that he wasn't in. He was higher up, but he knew how the National Guard worked and what purpose was, and he could have stopped those riots nip it in the bud, Andy, like they'd say on Andy Griffith, our friend Barney Fife. But uh, yeah, he did nothing. He sat on his hands for 3 days, and then they started marching across. They had finished Lake Street, come all the way down this long boulevard to the Mississippi River, and they were going to cross the bridge into St. Paul. And for whatever reason, he decided at that point, gosh, they could get close to the governor's mansion. We'll stop them now. So he finally had the National Guard come out. Um, if you had done that on day one, again, but these are professional anarchists that are bust in to these situations. Um, you can have someone shot anywhere in the city, in any suburb, and within 4 or 5 hours, you've got 1,000 demonstrators. They have printed signs. How long does it take you to go get an invitation printed or something? These are they follow the Saul Alinsky, I think was the communist guy that ran the party in Chicago, that the Obamas and the Clintons and all these folks have subscribed to. They know how to get it done, and they do it well. Um, so if you're a middle of the roader and you're sitting there and you hear all these things, you read them on the internet, whatever, oftentimes people tend to believe that stuff. And that's happening over and over and over again in Minnesota, where stuff comes out. Some of it is a little factual and people are just fed a line. And yeah, it's a real problem.
Well, and there's a great history of Democratic politics in that state. You had Hubert
Mhm.
Humphrey, who was a vice president.
Yep.
You had Walter Mondale,
Yep. Another VP.
the VP. A couple more. Um,
I don't know.
it's interesting. The Republicans and Democrats have their nicknames. In the Republicans, the GOP, Grand Old Party, but in in Minnesota, they're referred to as DFL, which stands for
Democratic Farmer Labor.
okay.
Yeah.
So that was always their strong base of union
Yep.
farmers.
Yep.
You know, it's not your hoity-toity party. It never has been.
No.
But they're in control, aren't they?
Oh, they're in Minnesota. I would say the vote comes down. The legislature is 51% Democratic, 49% Republican, and it's been that way for a while. When they controlled both session or both the Senate and the House and the governor, uh, that gave Governor Walz, he put in emergency powers before any other governor did during COVID, and he kept them longer than any other state. He basically was a dictator ruling what we were doing. And while all restaurants were closed, all other things were closed, churches, everything else, you could drive those 18 miles to Hudson, Wisconsin and go out for a nice dinner. And the infection rate of COVID was no higher in Wisconsin than it was in Minnesota. They kept all their freedoms. And again, he got power hungry in my mind. He wanted to run it with an iron fist, and he did. They arrested people, shut down their businesses, anybody that tried to open and do things. Um, again, that's a preview of things to come in my mind.
Well, and he has announced that he will not be running for reelection. When is your next gubernatorial?
That comes this fall. And why he's not running is because a little $9 billion scandal that occurred that somehow he wasn't quite aware of it. Um,
Somehow he was not quite aware of
and
it.
neither was the attorney general of the state, neither was the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry. They had no idea this was going on. Although Jacob Fry's wife, who's an attorney, represented 5 or 6 of the major figures in the Feeding Our Children scandal. So his wife clearly knew what was going on, had to know what was going on, was their attorney as they collected literally tens of millions of dollars. There's a storefront that's a little bigger than the room that we're in right now, maybe twice as big. And they were feeding 125,000 kids meals every month.
Out of this room.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They must have stacked them like cordwood 10 high to and just keep moving them in and out. But yeah, clearly anybody that was involved in those businesses had to know what they were doing was stealing, and uh, a lot of Somali people were involved in that. Uh, There were some others, but yeah, for the most part, that was Somalis. Um,
How is he viewed up there now? Is it like good riddance to bad garbage? We've had enough, and we're glad you're gone, or what's the
the
story?
the the people who he announced that he was no longer running for a third term, which would have been unprecedented when
But
this
legal,
broke, but legal.
yeah.
Um,
And
and
they're 4-year terms.
they're 4-year terms. And what happened is just as they were slipping the noose around his neck, the attorney general's neck, because he had to also know this was going on, there were people that came forward in state government and said, like a whistleblower situation, saying, "Hey, there's something really wrong here. Money is going out like crazy. What could we look at this?" And don't worry about it. Don't worry. It's everything's fine. And that delay cost us how many more hundreds of millions of dollars of other programs going on. So, um, but yeah, again, you've got all kinds of people in the know that either are blatant fools or they knew what was going on and were complicit with it. And it's unfortunate. Um, it's cost us a lot of money. We started a biennium with a 19 billion with a B dollar surplus. Um,
And that started when,
that would have been like in 2024, 25.
okay.
And by the mid portion of that biennium, a budget biennium, they were saying the next time we're going to have a $4 billion deficit. Oh, they must have given 15 billion in tax refunds, right? Because that's where they got that money. Oh, no, we didn't give anybody even a penny of tax refund. Um, where did the money go? I'm sure a big chunk of it was stolen and taken from us, and all of a sudden the money disappeared. If you're running a business and that happened to you, you'd be out of business so long ago. You'd be getting sued by all kinds of people for non-payment. Um, but I think it was just incredibly unfortunate timing. I'm sure Mr. Trump had the view that I do an ice surge, we go kick out a whole bunch of these folks that are taking this money that are there illegally, and we help end the problem. The problem was a woman was shot and killed, and I can't discuss the merits of that because they're he said, she said, and you get totally different things on each side. But what it did is it gave a martyr to the cause. And all of a sudden, from persona non grata, people are again, Governor Walz is just saying that we got to get this militants out of our state. We got to get these people controlled. They're running roughshod over us. They're doing horrible things. And all of a sudden, the whole focus became on the ice. They're good. They understood what they needed to do to stop the focus being on the corruption and the crime and the theft that was going on. And so I wish Mr. Trump would have waited 3 months to do that
Mm-hmm.
because everybody was all over it. That was the headline. Now we don't even talk about it.
But was anything ever resolved in that regard? What's happening to?
Well, at one point, the U.S. attorney for Minnesota said he thinks it's closer to $19 billion scandal, and he had all kinds of stuff going on, but he disagreed with the Trump administration over the handling of the way the shooting of the people occurred and the riots that were going on, all the different things. And effectively, he resigned, and 7 other top officials in the department resigned, saying, we need to be truthful and honest about what's going on in this ice surge. And so they left, they resigned, and now you don't have nearly enough federal attorneys. And
To dig into the fraud.
yeah, and I don't know if anything is happening, transpiring on it.
How did the Somalians ever get so strong there?
There's just a huge number of them, and I'm sure, again, I had heard stories of the year Biden won election that in there's what we call uh, the vertical slums. There's these tall buildings on Cedar Avenue in downtown Minneapolis that a guy would go, an operative, a Somali man would come and he'd knock on everyone's door in the apartments and say, here's your ballot. Please put your name here. And then they collected them. And again, you got thousands of new voters, and that is enough to tilt elections. You just get the right ones in the right precinct.
And no ID was involved in that
And
process.
you
So that
know,
these were up for mail-in ballots?
these were mail-in ballots, and these folks just filled them. They didn't fill them out. He collected them all and brought them back to whoever. And you know, it's happened all over the country, but it happened there. But I think the ma- just like the majority of good Catholic or Christian people in Texas are good, outstanding people, the majority of Somalians, I believe, probably are good, outstanding people. Um, Unfortunately, there were folks that saw ways to take advantage of situations and just absolutely steal huge amounts of money. And once they did it, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, and pretty soon there were all kinds of people doing it. Once they started getting caught, and TV people would be chasing them, saying, "Abdul, you've been charged with taking $7 million. How do you respond to that?" This is just prejudice against the Somali community, and they all said the same thing. It's just prejudice against the Somali community.
Wow. Well, we're going to bring Scott back over. He's next door. Well, let's wrap it up. Let's just talk a little bit more about our man Fry, the mayor.
Yeah, Jacob was the Democratic Party in Minneapolis and in St. Paul are really socialist parties. Um, they do not follow any national Democratic thing. They're further to the left by quite a bit. And in the primaries, Mayor Fry lost to a guy who again is a socialist, and they found some technical point. His campaign did, and they went after that, and they were able to get that reversed, and he was allowed to run for mayor again as the Democratic Party leader, and so he's in there for another term. Um, as I say, his wife's an attorney. They've been involved in all kinds of things, and it's not uh, the way to look at it from my perspective is we used to love to go to Minneapolis. Now, if I never go there, I'm just as
Because
happy.
Joe lives in a St. Paul suburb.
Yep, north of St. Paul a little ways, and used to go to downtown St. Paul. I told the story of the Skyway. It's we've lost those cities. And there's a number of major cities that have had that happen. And I think, we're called to in the Our Father, we're supposed to forgive our neighbor as we forgive those who trespass against us. And I truly believe in that. I believe that we need to do that type of thing. But it just it's really difficult when you're seeing things that you've loved and cared about your whole life destroyed and taken away, not to get more than a little upset about it.
Sure, sure.
And yeah,
Couple more small things regarding the finances up there, and we talked about the state taxes. What about the business taxes and the leaving of companies from there? And the one that's near and dear to my heart, because of making a lot of my living over the years with the Burlington Northern Railroad, who became the BNSF, they left in late 80s and moved their headquarters to Texas. 3M moved a lot of operations to Austin, and there's a big list of companies like that, right?
oh yeah, there's a huge list of companies that have done that, and it continues to happen. It's one of those situations that um, we know that if we cut off the people that generate the income, where's that going to put us? And we're
Right.
doing it. We're cutting our nose off to spite ourselves. Um, it's not as big an issue right now as some of the other issues, on business tax. But yeah, I'm sure if you're running a corporation and you're thinking about where you're going to expand, the odds are not Minnesota's not going to be, hey, let's go to that. It's a beautiful state. It's a lot of. But
And one final thing, what about, say, there's a area of northern Minnesota called the Mesabi Iron Range, and they mined iron ore, and then when it got to all the good stuff, they developed a technique called making taconite, where you would take the granulars and you would put it into these little tablets, and then you'd ship that off, take it by rail, take it by ship out of there to the steel mills in the other parts of the country, and that industry's gone bad. But what do they got going now with copper and what else up there?
there are precious metals that are in the soil up there. And Mr. Trump is saying, I don't care what the state says, if there are minerals, essential minerals that we need for all kinds of things, for military, for technology, we're going to allow people to go and get those things. So we get a lot of lawsuits about it, but there is movement in that way. And there's ad campaigns that the mining companies are running saying, we're not polluting the atmosphere. We're creating thousands of jobs. This is a wonderful thing. It's good for us. It's good for the state of Minnesota. It's good for the residents. And so I think we're, at least in that area, Mr. Trump has us moving in the right direction.
Good. Well, all I can say, Joe, is I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're a friend of mine for 53 years, and God bless you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I really enjoyed having the opportunity. Hopefully, most everything that I said was accurate and true. I didn't have a lot of time to prep for this and get statistical figures on taxes or other things, but um, yeah, we're not exactly the Titanic yet as a state, but we've taken an iceberg to the hull, and kind of difficult to see how we're going to repair that and remain afloat. But God willing, we will.
All right.
Anything's possible with the good Lord. So
You hang loose. We're gonna have a fun time golfing this afternoon with the boys.
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. It is still March 13th. It is still episode number 127, and we now have Scott back in his regular seat. Glad to have you again, Scott.
Thanks, Bud. Hi, everybody. As you know, we do this show 2 times a week. We prep a lot for what is actually an hour of conversation, and we enjoy it and hope you do too. By all indications, we're growing, and we appreciate that a lot. Thank you, Joe, for being here and for sharing with us what's going on in Minnesota, which for many of us is a world away, might as well be a world away, both politically and climate and geography and dialect. Yes,
Oh, yeah. Should have
Minnesota.
Bigota.
Anyway, thank y'all for being here. Picking right up where y'all left off, I just want to add my 2 cents worth for probably about what it's worth. 2 cents is that we are a state. I think the good Lord has looked down on Texas for a long, long time. And I say this really about Waxahachie. He's looked down on Waxahachie and the state of Texas and said, I'm gonna, I don't know why, but there's something special there, and I want to kind of keep an eye on Waxahachie in Texas. Waxahachie, by example, hasn't really dealt with the other things that other communities in America have dealt with, whether it's the woke ideology or crime or things like that. I make the claim that it's because there is a an engaged watchdog community media company like the Sun that is here to protect Waxahachie and to say, try that stuff. What's that song Jason Aldean had? Try that in a small town. Try that in a small town, and we'll expose it. And that includes people that I've liked and been friends with over the years, and stuff like that. So you do wrong, we're going to expose it, and we'll be happy to expose it and be energetic when we do.
Amen.
So anyway, same goes for the state of Texas. So here we are. You just heard Joe talk about Minneapolis and St. Paul and Walls and Ellison and Oman. Is that her name? Last name?
Yeah, we did
Oman.
not get much of her,
Well,
but that's all right.
that's too much to tell you the truth. Uh, we haven't, save for a few people over the centuries and decades. We really haven't had that. And it's a segue though for me to just mention a guy on the scene now in the state of Texas is a guy named James Talarico. James Talarico is a young man. I believe he's in his 30s, could be in his young 40s, but he's a young man, a pastor, quote, pastor, current state senator, went to seminary. I don't know what else he does. I think he's got a day job.
Does he got a day job?
I think so. But anyway, I say James Talarico, as I said in the column yesterday, in the Waxahachie Sun, and that will appear again tomorrow in our Substack stuff on Grit and Good News. I think this guy's bad news, and we ought to be aware of it. Now that column has gotten a lot of response, and you'd think I'm the Antichrist at this point, which goes to what we think of what's happening in society. Not that I'm right. I'm just saying we've lost our marbles, to tell you the truth. But we're going to keep an eye on James Talarico. Matter of fact, next week I'm going to do a part 2 on Talarico, how I think he is Obama 2.0 or the second coming of Obama or the sequel to Obama. But I'm telling you, the process by which they both have come on the national scene is almost identical. And it's going to continue. Talarico realizes that Obama was successful with it, and now Talarico's doing it. The key here is to look back and say, now that we know who Obama really is, was he consequential? Did he do good for America? Was he positive in our history? I made the claim that he wasn't, but we'll see. But we'll have more to say about that.
Well, in that regard, I don't post a lot of my poems in the Sun Facebook page, but I wrote one that's gonna be on Substack, and Sam's gonna put it in here. And the essence of I've taken a lighter note to the beginning of it, but here's what people do need to remember in this state, that the senatorial primary on the Democratic side had more Democrats voting than Republicans, and it's never happened that way. And if the Republicans don't watch out and make sure they get their people to the poll, they're going to have a tough time, because here you got Talarico running. There's no runoff. He'll be in November. He's got all that time to build. On the Republican side, they've still got that runoff. And if they can't find a way to decide for one of them to drop out and both of them, for one to drop out, then they're going to bloody each other up, and and you're going to see that Senate seat going the other way.
Yeah, I think one of the positives about Donald Trump is that he's intuitive, and so based on what you just said, which is exactly, in my opinion, it's right. That is to say, okay, Trump is saying, well, if I let these two guys, well, not that he can stop it, but he can certainly put pressure on them. If I let these two guys beat the living daylights out of one another, then it is going to give the Democrats more than the Democrats probably would have ever had, which is why Trump is saying, I'll endorse one, whichever the one is, and the other needs to drop out. I think Trump is going to entice that to happen by giving a job or some ambassadorship to Fiji or something like that. But um, I do believe that as we head into the general, which will be here before we know it, Talarico is going to be fully exposed. Now we are starting to do it in our own little sphere of influence, but when a dopey column written by a dopey columnist takes off because of the topic or the subject of the column being Talarico, and that I didn't call him the Antichrist. I claim that he is manipulating God's word so as to get votes, and he's doing it in what is a crude way by saying Mary, the reason we should protect women's bodies and therefore give them the right to abortion is because Mary, God needed consent from Mary before he was going to basically put Jesus in her body. And that isn't at all what Mary meant. Mary meant, I'm just
I'm a humble servant.
I'm gonna I am yours. Do with me what you see fit. But Talarico is twisting it all to all to hell, really. But he's doing the same thing with saying that uh, transgender community should have the rights to abortion. Like what? I don't even get the reason why he would advocate such. But and there are multiple other things. So anyway, when a column like that from the hub of Waxahachie in Ellis County, Texas, goes. I got a message this morning from somebody that said a buddy of his wrote him and said, I saw that, I read the column by your guy at the Waxahachie Sun. The guy was living in Atlanta. And so Talarico is a lightning bolt, much like Obama was. And we're going to have to expose him. So we'll do more on that next week. But I do have some things I want to share with you before we get to our last block here. I came across two stories. You may have heard of the story of the Georgia high school coach slash teacher, a man named where Jason Hughes. Last Friday night, the seniors at the high school where he coached and taught uh, they have a standing, how seniors are. They have a standing prank,
Yeah.
and that is to toilet paper people's houses. I mean, I was told Sammy, I have one tree in my front yard. They can TP it all they want to. I assume it's people that are friends and that want to pull a prank on us. I don't have any problem with that. It'll come down some way or another. And neither did this coach. So the coach, the idea was, the prank was, we go TP these houses. If we get caught by the homeowner, then we lose points. So it's a point system, and these seniors decide whoever comes up with the most points wins the thing. So this coach wanted to catch them. Not, and as I'm going to tell you, it's not because he was angry; it's because he wanted to catch them and have fun. Well, as he was chasing, at, as they were leaving, he was chasing them from his house, running. He tripped and he fell into the road, and one of the vehicles ran over him and killed him. Very sad story. And I'm all for law enforcement. I think law enforcement sometimes needs to just hang on a second, think about this. Uh, they immediately charge these kids with uh, voluntary manslaughter, all kinds of severe uh, crimes. And then this mom, the mom and the wife, uh, he was a father and a husband, so they had kids. The wife came out and said that they are asking that the police drop all charges against every one of these kids. And these kids are, quality, look like the quality young people who are just having a good time and not doing anything really wrong, just following, high school prank. We did our pranks back in the
Right.
day. And so I thought it was a compelling story that says, look, forgiveness is such a key element of life. And this mom who's devastated, um, her husband, they're in their 40s, I think, with two young children, are saying they don't deserve to be.
You talk about taking the high road,
Yeah,
right?
you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of you'll remember this probably. I think it's been 5 or 6 years now. Amber, I forget her last name, but she was the cop who
Amber
went
Geyer.
Geyer went to her apartment,
Up
but
in,
I thought it was her apartment, but it was both Gene's apartment. Remember him? Went to Harding University, a
yeah,
Christian university in Arkansas, and killed him,
yeah,
shot him. So
yeah.
she thought somebody was in her apartment. And then
Came in,
remember his
came in,
brother?
and he was sitting on his couch
Yeah,
eating ice cream,
and she killed him.
which is what we were doing last night at our house.
Yeah, she killed him because she thought he was in her apartment. Now, there is some consequence to that, but do you remember his brother in court from the witness stand saying to the judge, "Can I get up and go give her a hug?" And he did, and he publicly forgave her.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing here. I think we ought to be mindful of that. We're dealing right now with Hannah Dillard, which I've shared with you guys before, trying to free her from a awful prison sentence. She's in Oklahoma. She just served fourth year of a 12-year sentence, which is outrageous for what she did, and she was convicted and sentenced here. And so we are fighting the judicial system here for reasons that I am both angry and disappointed and stunned that the people that I know who sit in judges' chairs in their robes be willing to do what they did to Hannah Dillard.
Right.
And so there's no mercy, no forgiveness. That's just wrong. So anyway, and then the other story was, how about the volleyball player, female volleyball player in San Jose, at San Jose State University? And we've heard about this for the last couple of years, that they had a transgender. Okay, what is it when you say transgender woman? It means they were
A
born.
male going female.
Okay, so they were born a male, transgendering to a woman. So a transgender female on the team. Uh, this 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 other female teammate roomed with this guy.
Are we playing the clip?
No, is it a clip? No, it's not. It's just a story. But
Oh,
she comes out and she says, "I never knew he was a male. No one ever told me this guy was transgender. I didn't know he was transgender, and I've been sleeping in the same bed with a man on my team, and nobody bothered to tell me." She's getting raked over the coals. I'm telling you, if that was my daughter, I don't care what level of education it was or what the circumstances was. If there's a transgender, if there's a guy that's got a man's stuff and my daughter is sleeping with him because the school never divulged the truth, there's going to be a problem.
You know what I find weird about that is that um, most people in the entire
Yeah.
LGDP
No, just you got it.
in the alphabet spectrum, um, they very much want you to know what they are.
Yeah.
They're very, whereas I think what happens in the bedroom is a private thing.
Yeah.
They think it should be a very public thing. And that includes in the trans world, including trans people in my family. But the irony is that he wanted this to be a secret in a time when people wanted to be known. But I understand why he wanted to be a secret because otherwise he wouldn't be able to participate. But you're putting yourself in a position to be living a lie.
Yeah. Well, I
It's
mean,
kind of weird.
that's got to be a burden. But and many transgender people, you can tell. Or my wife and I watching a series called Hijack. It's a really good
Mhm.
series about a hijack, oddly enough. And a person in the film, in the series, is definitely a transgender, and it doesn't take you 2 seconds to figure it out. Well, this guy transgendering to be a woman, I guess you can't tell. But so because this other player was just, I mean, when you're not thinking about it, I guess you don't stop to think about it. But I find that egregious and wanted to share that with you guys. So those are two tarnations that I wanted to share with you. So here's there was something else I wanted to mention and I forgot what it was. Did you guys cover? Oh, you covered everything else. Uh, I make the claim. You just heard about Minnesota. We hear about it on the news. We had Joe here so that Joe could tell you this is what's going on from a guy with his, you know, feet on the ground there. Uh, whether it be that, whether it be what's going on with Talarico, whether it's any other cultural issue, doesn't even have to be cultural, but is America is America a tangled mess? That's the question.
Well, yes.
I remember that song by Gary Allen, my wife, our favorite artist, country artist. His song is "It's a Beautiful Life," but he precedes that by describing how crazy and tangled it is, and then he says, "But it's a beautiful life." I say that's true of America. So when you look at, I wouldn't want to live in any other country. There are times when, like all people would say, "Oh man, it'd be nice to live in Hawaii, or it'd be nice to live in Australia, or it'd be nice to live wherever." Aruba. I'd probably take that still today. But we live in a best country in America in the world, but are we a mess?
Well, we are a mess, and I think people have said this for some period of time. I'm not sure when it started, where they say, "I'm glad I've got children raised. I would not want to be raising children at this point." Whenever that started, maybe 20, 30 years ago, I don't know.
Yeah,
It applies.
it does apply.
I think I did okay with my kids. I
Yeah,
think did well. I think you've done well with yours.
yeah.
Uh, I know Joe did well with his two sweethearts, but I just I wouldn't want to be doing it
Well, I
tonight.
look at my grandson, Sammy's, what would he be? He's your, what is Beckham to you? A cousin? So step, so that would be
Do the math.
your nephew. No, wait. Yeah, nephew. Yeah, is going to be 2 in July, and
I got one of those.
he is the most precious kid. And I know we all say that about our, just like we do our wives. We say that about our kids, particularly our grandkids. We get our kids. We're all focused on the grandkid now. But I look at him and I say, man, what is the world going to be like? And we've talked about what is a day in the life of a Dallas Texan or Waxahachie in 2065. So I've written a column about that and what is it going to be like with all the technology and that sort of thing. And I've told Sammy and Ross before, particularly Ross, I've said there's coming a day where you will be in a car that never touches the ground, and you'll go from place to place to place. He's like, that'll never happen. And just the other day there was a story. I don't know if it was about Musk or something, but a news story talking about the advent of those. And I sent it to Ross, and he's like, I can't believe that. But culturally and Christian, spiritually, what is it going to be like? I mean, and I get that people can look at the Bible. It's like anything else. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. You can look at the same thing. You and I, three of us, four of us, can look at the same thing and have four interpretations. And so in my column about Talarico, I said the Bible is not flexible. The world or the church of relativism is very strong today, which is why you have churches like Talarico's. If you look at Talarico's church, he's got a rainbow flag around the hanging on the cross.
Oh my.
Yeah. So he's got and so here I am saying, wait a second, that doesn't comport with the Bible that I've always read, the same Bible that when I was 6 and now that I'm 60 something, it's the same Bible. And I closed the column. The Bible is not, God's word is not flexible. People jump me like I'd just taken their last dollar saying, well, yeah, it is. It's fluid. It's like the Constitution. People say it's fluid. Well, it isn't. It's a
It's
document.
a history story.
Yeah.
It's a
So,
history story written by observers at that time, and it's carried through all these years. It's had all these translations. And uh, the thing about Talarico and what I call overconnecting the dots is is making references to, if it wasn't in the Bible, then it doesn't really apply.
yeah.
And guess what? Most of our life wasn't in the Bible.
Yeah. You don't
What
find
was in the Bible was a story of a man born in Bethlehem who died on a cross, and
yeah.
the Old Testament predicted the coming of him. They're stories of what happened.
Yeah, it is astounding to me. I don't read every column, but I read, throughout the day. I'll get notifications, so I'll take a look at them, and I sit there sometimes. I don't not with my mouth open, but my eyes are squinted, like, huh, like it's a fluid document. Or James Talarico is more like Jesus than any Republican I know, and so on and so forth. And I'm thinking, is there hope for us? I don't think so. There's always hope because Jesus exists, but I'm talking about as a society. Is there hope for us to ever calm it down, become untangled? And I'm not sure guys like James Talarico, Obama, and others want it to be tangled because that's how they become relevant.
Right.
It's like that's how unions became prevalent in this country. Is that they had a system by which they pitted one group against the other, employees against management, and they had a they met in the middle, but they didn't have anybody to help them work things out. And voila, here's the union to help you do it. And so it's like a lawyer, divorce attorney. They don't want things settled. They
Right.
want you to be arguing for life.
Right.
So anyway, all right, we got a poem.
We're gonna
Let's
squeeze
hear
it in.
about it.
Written November 28th of 2021. I was getting ready to go to Minnesota. Joe told me that it was snowflakes when he came down, and it's gonna be coming harder when he comes back. Off to Minnesota and hope not to freeze my toes off. Weather map does show a 50% chance of snow. Hope the plane lands kind of slow. Pack my coat, gloves, scarf, long johns, and hat. Could I need more than that? Gonna go see the big snowplows. The way they move the snow always gives me the wows. They sure can clean up the street, but they're useless against the sleet. How can folks live like this? But I'm careful not to diss. I have family, friends and family that live there. Of their feelings, I do care. A short visit is enough. I guess I'm not that tough. Give me sunshine and warm air. I like my weather fair. Soon I'm heading back to the Lone Star State, and I can't wait for that date.
Amen to that. Joe, it's winter day out there for us today. I went outside this morning like, holy Moses, went to bed with my air conditioner on, woke up but they had to turn the heater on.
We walked across the street to come over here, and he said, "Will we have time to change to shorts when I get home?" I'm
Yeah, I hear you. I know, I get it. All right,
Today in history.
let's hear it. Are you ready, Sam? Okay.
Born ready. I don't know if Jeffrey's ready.
I grabbed the wrong
World to
one.
Jeffrey.
World to Jeffrey.
Did you grab the wrong? Well, let's do the one you got, and we'll see if we remember what we talked about the other day.
Is that the one from Tuesday?
It's from Thursday the 5th. Hang on one more second. See if it...
Where's my detour sign? We have this, Joe. Detour.
I got it. I got it. Here we
Okay.
go.
All right.
Joe beat me on this morning, and the boys played with me. Here we go. Today in history. That's not it either.
Oh my
Today in
gosh.
history, Jeff lost. Today in history.
Thursday, March 12th.
That's it.
That's it.
I was calling it March 13th when on the show intro. The Girl Scouts of the USA had its beginnings as Juliet Gordon Lowe of Savannah, Georgia, founded the first American troop of the Girl Guides.
I have no idea. I'm gonna go 1910.
That's exactly the year I had.
Well, you'd both be plenty right because it was 1912.
Wow.
Good job.
I don't know why I said that.
I started 0-4.
Okay.
The St. Francis Dam north of Los Angeles failed, sending over 12 billion gallons of water into San Francisco Canyon and killing over 400 people.
1949.
1938.
28.
Ooh.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Mahatma Gandhi began his 24-day, 240-mile salt march to the Indian village of Dandi as an act of nonviolent civil disobedience to protest the salt tax levied by colonial Britain.
1942.
1950.
30.
Oh,
President Franklin Delano Roosevelt delivered the first of his Fireside Chats, a series of evening radio broadcasts to the American public.
Roosevelt. I'm gonna go 56.
38.
33.
Jeez.
President Harry S. Truman announced what became known as the Truman Doctrine to help Greece and Turkey resist communism during the Cold War.
That's 1952.
1953.
47. You're both there. You're both there. A Chicago jury found John Wayne Gacy Jr. guilty of the murders of 33 men and boys.
91.
That is just sick. That would have been 1988.
That was 1980. You're not
Ah,
in your 7
dang.
range.
Wasn't he the clown?
Yeah.
Oh man.
In more
Disgrace
ways than one.
Yeah.
financier Bernard, call me Bernie, Madoff pleaded guilty in New York to the largest Ponzi scheme in history having defrauded his clients of nearly 65 billion.
2013.
Oh my gosh. I want to say 2006.
2009, you're both there. Can you imagine what 65 billion is today?
No.
165 billion, right? The city of Minneapolis agreed to pay 27 million to settle a lawsuit filed by George Floyd's family over the murder of the black man by police.
2020.
2022.
2021.
How many times did we do that?
Often.
5 and 3, Sammy.
2, 3. I got 4
All right,
right.
we're
5 and
about
4, and
all right.
Joe had a nice record
True
today.
facts that sound like BS, Joe. We do this at the end of every show, so I give the boys a statement, and they tell me whether it's true or false.
And Joe gets a vote here too.
Yeah, you can have a vote too. True or false? Only one person. We're heading into March Madness. Yes.
Yes.
True or false? Only one person has ever recorded a perfect March Madness bracket. True or false?
I'll say true.
I say true, and it was in recent years.
I'm going to say false.
You would be correct.
Oh,
It has
nobody's
never
ever done
been
it?
done. In fact, it is so statistically improbable that it may never be done. I think we talked about this on air before, and I didn't have it as the subject, but Warren Buffett years ago said he put up $1 billion to anybody that would get a perfect bracket. It's never been
Let's
done.
do it this year.
Let's do it.
Let's
Yeah,
do it.
Is,
let's
is
do it.
that still out there?
No, not the $1 billion. Anyway, so there you have it. Our sponsor of Grit and Good News is Hooser Custom Meats, HOOSER, custommeats.com. They're right here in Italy, Texas. They do a great job. Anything you want to eat when it comes to farm kind of food, farm raised kind of food, Hooser Custom Meats is the place to go. 903-688-1446. Tell them Grit and Good News boys sent you. That's the end of our show today. We'll be back next Tuesday. And I think thank again to Joe for sharing his experiences in Minneapolis with us. We're grateful for that.
Make it a great day and put a smile on somebody's face. Boom.
Boom.